Welcome to another edition of the Bobby Cremins Show, postseason edition of the Bobby Cremins Show. Of course, with head coach of the College of Charleston, Bobby Cremins, and I'm Nate Ross, your host, and unfortunately the last edition of this year's Bobby Cremins Show, but we'll get into that in a minute. Coach, considering what you guys went through with Jeremy Simmons missing the last 13 games, and then the team really came together and they played with a purpose. It's not that they didn't have the purpose early, they played with a great purpose. You gave the fans and the city and everybody that watches the Cougars a heck of a ride this year.
Yeah, thanks, Nate. You know, things in coaching happen that you never expect. And I've been coaching a long time. I sat out 6 years before coming back here at the College of Charleston. And I've had injuries before. I remember first day of practice at Georgia Tech one year, our star player, Deion Glover, went down with an ACL. And I had injuries before that. But Nate, this injury to Jeremy Simmons was different. When it happened, we all were initially really down. Our leading shot blocker, our leading rebounder, our inside presence. I really felt, Nate, like we could really fall apart. But for some reason, this team responded with such a positive reaction. And everybody lifted their games. And, you know, people say, why? Why did it happen, Coach? And I would have to say it's because of the bond between these young men. You got to remember, this was supposed to be our year. We were supposed to have 4 seniors this year. Antoine Wiggins is a junior because he tore his ACL a year ago, and so he did not play last year. But when you have young men like Donovan, Drew, and Jeremy together for 3 years, they form a bond. And when one of their fellow players went down, it was disheartening, but they decided, hey, we're not going to let this ruin the season. We dedicated the regular season championship to Jeremy, and Nate, it was a beautiful thing to see this team react and stay together and accomplish so much. It was a heck of a ride.
And for people who haven't followed the program real closely, you got to tell people, Jeremy's fine right now.
Yes, Jeremy's doing great. He's actually starting to work out a little bit. The doctor has not allowed him to shoot with the right hand yet. It all developed with his right arm swelling, and there was a blood clot under his bone from a football injury when he was a youngster that they never really diagnosed properly.
Well, we're glad Jeremy's going to be fine. He's going to be fine wherever he plays in the future for many, many years. Last week we talked about the Dayton game, a phenomenal atmosphere in the Carolina First Arena. And then because of the seeding, you had to go on the road twice. 2 great games. Let's talk about Cleveland State first.
Yeah, Nate. You know, you're right about the high seeds. And, you know, Dayton was a higher seed, but they couldn't play their home game because of the NCAA. We go on the road to Cleveland, and they had the NCAA tournament going on around them, but they were playing at the home of the Cavaliers. And so Cleveland State's gym was available. They had a very nice crowd, and they had a great guard by the name of Coles.
Norris Cole, yeah.
Norris Coles, what a great defender, and Nate, this guy's a speedster. The game got off to a good start. We hung in there right from the get-go, and it was nip and tuck. And all of a sudden, the first half, we were playing our game. Drew was getting his shots. They were face guarding him, double team. One time, he made a beautiful cut to the corner and hit a great jump shot. And it was a good basketball game, nip and tuck. At halftime, we were down, but we were right where we wanted to be. And then the second half, things really got interesting, Nate. We decided to go to a zone, and we had not played a lot of zone. And guess what, Nate? Cleveland State could not hit a shot. It was amazing. And so naturally, when somebody is not hitting a shot, you stay in the zone.
1 for 25 from 3 they were.
1 for 25. That is incredible on their home court. Yep. Coach Waters, after the game, Gary said to me, he said, Bobby, I don't know what happened. I don't know whether it was your defense or whatever. But we go on for a great victory on the road, and that enables us to advance to the 3rd round of the NIT. And as you mentioned, the highest seed in this case was Wichita State. Wichita State had a great win over Virginia Tech at Virginia Tech in overtime. We were kind of hoping to go to ACC country a little bit closer, and instead we had to go out to Wichita, Kansas. And Nate, you talk about atmosphere. Holy smokes. They had one of the great home court atmospheres in college basketball. Of course, their coach Greg Marshall was an assistant here at College of Charleston. His mentor is our former great coach here, John Kress. Coach Kress made the trip with us. And Nate, again, incredible atmosphere. They were hoping to go to the big dance, but they lost in the semifinals of their tournament to Indiana State. But Nate, the fans, you would think that they were in the NCAA tournament. They all showed up. First half, not too bad, and then right before halftime, with about 8 minutes to go, all of a sudden Wichita State takes control of the game. Drew was struggling. He couldn't hit his shot early on, and then all of a sudden he started to make some drives. But we were turning the ball over, Nate,
right.
And that was the difference. We had a big turnover, and we go into the locker room down 12. Things get worse. We go down 20. And Nate, all of a sudden, I'm thinking, uh-oh, this is going to get ugly.
What'd you tell him at that point?
I just told him, keep playing the game. Just keep playing. Forget the scoreboard. Keep playing the game. And all of a sudden, Drew gets hot. And all of a sudden, Donovan Monroe gets hot. And all of a sudden, the Cougars are crawling their way back into this game. And finally, we get it to within 10. And then, Nate, we get it to 7.
And the ball.
And we get a good shot. Drew gets a great look at his shot. Nate, I really felt he makes that shot, and it's a 4-point game, and here we go. So, Nate, we end the season with a loss at Wichita State, but I was very proud of the team not quitting, down 21 points, and being able to come back and put a little scare into Wichita State. They will go on to New York, and they'll play Washington State, which should be a great game. It'll be a doubleheader. Of course, Alabama will be a heavy favorite in the other bracket, but there'll be 4 very good teams going on to New York. And again, Nate, it was a great ride for us, and I couldn't be more pleased with the effort by our team.
Well, let's go back a little bit to the Cleveland State game. Drew does not score a lot of points.
Yes. And
you guys win a basketball game by really sharing the basketball. You had to feel good about that.
Yeah, good point, Nate. I forgot about that. You know, we finally win a game with Drew not shooting the ball well, and that was a really good sign.
Oh,
you know, ever since Jeremy went down, we squeezed Drew for everything we can. The whole offense ran through Drew, and at times, you know, I'd be watching tapes, and I could see that we were not a balanced team. That, you know, we didn't have that inside-outside balance that I like that Jeremy gives us. You know, when Jeremy put his arm up, they threw the ball to him. And all of a sudden, you know, now they got a freshman, Trent Wiedemann, putting his arm up, and they're saying, hey, you're a freshman. You're a freshman. You're not getting the ball from me right now. And at times, you know, we force some shots. But, Nate, the biggest thing, we stayed together. And in staying together, that's what made us successful.
And we got to mention, Drew shot the ball from serious range in that last game. 31 points. And some of them, I noticed he's standing right next to the NIT logo on the
cover. You know, Drew has great range. You know, I can't say enough about his performance. He really struggled on. It was a tough atmosphere out in Wichita State. And I can see why that is, you know, a place where they love their basketball. I was really amazed. But again, when I walked in the locker room after that game, I told them to keep their heads up. It was a tough ending to a season. It was over. But I was very proud that we did not quit and we fought back. And as you said, down 7 with the ball. One more score, and it could have been really interesting. We maybe could have been making a trip to New York.
Well, it was a great regular season. Cougars won the regular season championship. Unfortunately, they were disappointed because of the loss to Wofford in the finals of the Southern Conference Tournament. As Coach just alluded to, a heck of a run in the NIT. 1 game short of going to Madison Square Garden, but still a heck of a run in the NIT. We want to sincerely thank AT&T for sponsoring our AT&T Play of the Week. But this week, as somebody famous said, and I don't know who it was, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, rather than me speaking 1,000 words, we're going to show you pictures. A number 3, Andrew Godlock, shooting threes from everywhere because that's the best he does, and that's what he does very often.
He's tall. He can see over the defense. He skips it to Godlock. Godlock from behind the arc. His foot was on the line, but he hits it.
Down 3, 5 seconds to go. Godlock. Oh!
2 seconds, 1 second, pulling up for an open 3.
Layup.
Got it! Oh, on the buzzer!
right wing, dribbles behind his back, still in the right wing. Looking to force up a shot. Fade away three. Got it! Wow. Oh, what a shot!
From deep. There goes another one. Bam!
He's had a terrific career at Providence. Look at this. Look at this.
Oh, my heavens! That's ridiculous.
Welcome back once again to the Bobby Cremins Show, and this week's Cougar Conversation is brought to you by our great friends at Coca-Cola, and we're happy to have, I hate to say freshman, because after 27 wins, you're really not a freshman anymore, Trent Wiedemann, forced into a role you probably didn't think you'd be in. Last year you lost one game as a high school senior, you won a state championship in Georgia. This year, you're playing a lot of minutes early in the season, you're probably happy you want to play more, and then all of a sudden Jerry Simmons gets hurt. And now, whether you want to play more or not, you're playing more. What was that like, the adjustment period at first, when you realized, hey, I'm a starter on this basketball team now because they need me?
Yeah, the first game was a little rough, just being in the starting lineup and, you know, the pressure that was on me, and I knew how many minutes I was going to have to play.
Sure.
So just mentally, it was tough preparing for it. You know, I was really nervous, and I knew everyone that was watching was nervous for me. So, yeah, it was pretty tough.
Well, Coach Cremins said early in the season how when Jeremy put his hand up, the ball went inside. But when this freshman guy puts his hand up, sometimes they're not going to throw the ball inside. Well, that changed, and I'm sure you got more comfortable in the role and it was 13 games. I don't know if you realize, it was 13 games you started for him.
Yeah, I mean, people, you know, I started to gain people's trust. You know, Drew, he's such an unselfish player. He started giving me the ball. Donovan, Antoine, you know, everyone that went in the game started, you know, giving me the ball inside, and you know, I'd try to reward him, kick it back out. So, yeah.
I got to ask you this. I was going to wait till the end of this to ask you. But you know, a 33, 35% three-point shooter for the year, or higher than that, what was it?
I have no idea.
Well, what about the one you hit in the NIT? That was maybe one of the biggest shots in the basketball game.
Yeah.
At Cleveland State to get the win, and you looked, you know, I compliment you on always keeping your composure during the game. You almost started laughing running down the court when I was watching on television.
Yeah, shot clock was running down.
Yes, it was.
And if the shot clock wasn't running down and I shot that, Coach Cremins wouldn't have been very happy. So I just thought it was kind of funny. I'm not that great of a shooter, and it went in. It was such a big shot that I kind of surprised myself.
Obviously, you knew the shot clock was running down, because when you see the highlight, it's from the baseline camera, and the ball goes up, and you see 2-1-0 swish as it went in. That's a big shot in the basketball game. That was a big momentum swing for your basketball team.
Yeah, it was. I looked over the sideline. Everyone was standing up, going crazy. And it was cool to see. And I think momentum just shifted completely because they thought, me shooting a three, that was a good shot for us to take for them. And then, it went in. It was just kind of made them dead.
Great win on the road. Great win here against Dayton in the NIT. And then at Wichita State, pretty amazing environment out there.
Oh, it was crazy. I mean, they were on spring break, and their student section was filled an hour before the game started. I've never seen anything like that. The whole game, I couldn't hear us talk to each other. It was so loud and all the time. Even they just tied the game up in the first half, and they acted like they won already. The place was so loud. So it was a crazy environment.
One guy said that he had to cover his ears on the bench because he couldn't hear anything. So that's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah.
What's the biggest thing you learned this year?
I think composure. No matter what happens, you just gotta, stay calm, stay poised, and just go with the flow and play your game. Don't get distracted.
It's 40 minutes, unlike in high school. It's a little longer. What do you look forward to for this basketball team? Coach Cremins talked about the seniors. Obviously, there's 4 of them. You got 4 freshmen that are coming in now. What do you look forward to for the future of this basketball team?
I think we have a great future. Some people that didn't get much playing time this year are going to have big roles next year.
Yep.
And I think it's going to be, pretty balanced scoring. Everyone's going to, I think we're going to have a few people averaging double figures, and it's going to be a really cool team to watch and fun to watch.
That's funny. You weren't here when Coach Cremins talked, but it's exactly what he said. He talked about the balanced scoring. Favorite memory of the season for you?
I'd have to say the Dayton game, just the environment and how crazy it was, and just it was kind of like the Wichita State game. I couldn't hear anybody talk, and it was, I'd never seen that in our home court before. It got loud, but never that loud.
All right, now next year you're no longer a freshman. I don't think you're a freshman now. What are you going to tell the incoming guys about what this whole situation's all about?
Just play your game. Don't try to be anybody you're not. Don't try to play out of yourself. And I think that's huge for freshmen coming in. They think they got to be something different. They recruited you for a reason. I mean, just play your game.
Trent Wiedemann, a freshman on this year's basketball team, a sophomore and a big-time leader for the next 3 years for the College of Charleston. Thank you very much for joining us on Cougar Conversations. We'll be back with a lot more to Bobby Cremins Show right after these messages. Welcome back once again to the Bobby Cremins Show. And Coach, this is normally the time when we talk about your next week opponent, brought to you by our great friends at Piggly Wiggly, but we're going to change a little bit and talk about the future years for the Cougars. Where do you go from here? Lost a lot of seniors.
Well, Nate, the first thing we did when we got back, we had a staff meeting this morning. And, Nate, every year is a new team. And we'll now put together our team for next year. And the big thing I talked about next year, we're going to have more balanced scoring. We'll lose such a great scorer in Drew Godlock. And we'll probably have more of a power game. We're very fortunate in recruiting to recruit a young man by the name of Ajay Baru, 6'9". And he's a very athletic player. And with the players we have coming back and with the players we have coming in, I'm looking for a more balanced power type game. So we talked about that. Obviously, I mentioned the name recruiting. Recruiting is very, very important. And we may bring in another young man. We signed 3 in the early signing period. But I don't have to tell anybody that recruiting is a bloodline of our business. The better players you can bring in, and not only as basketball players, but as people, the better program you're going to have. So we want to finalize up recruiting. My staff and I, we head to the Final Four, as does every coach in the country, because that's our convention. We'll have some very important Division I meetings there. I can remember last year, everybody talked about the 96 NCAA tournament format, and that was killed. It ended up being 68. But we'll have a lot of issues up there. We have issues called Academic Progress Report. We'll talk about various very, very important items, the college basketball. And, you know, the game is so important to us. It's crucial that all these important items that we discuss, they make the game safe. They continue to make it pure. We know we don't have a perfect game. We know there's a lot of hypocrisy in our game. I hate to see all the problems that the athletes have. There was a big recent article in Sports Illustrated about athletes, in this case mostly football players, getting jail time, having records on them. And so there's still a lot of work yet to be done. Football, of course, they're talking about maybe having a playoff, which I think they should. And these issues and these meetings are very important. Then we get back home. Again, I mentioned we finish up recruiting. And then, Nate, the NCAA, we're allowed to work out the underclassmen 2 hours a week for about 5 weeks. So, you know, I like to give the young men some time off, let them jump on the academics, catch up academically, get some rest. And then we try and take advantage of these individual workouts. And they're like preseason. You're only allowed to go 4 at a time, 2 hours a week. So we might go twice a week for obviously an hour. If we go 3 times a week, it's got to be for 40 minutes. But we'll figure out some schedule where we can do some fundamentals for these young men prior to them going into the summer. Of course, it's really important that everybody is academically eligible. I can't say enough about that. And we're hoping our seniors, will graduate on time, if not in summer school, and if not, shortly thereafter. And so, everything continues to go. Then you want to get some time off. But Nate, I'm thinking about next year right now, and it's very important. We got something going here.
Absolutely.
And I just want to say before I close out, I want to thank all our fans. We had great student support from the student body, our fans from the city. One thing I've learned about the College of Charleston, with our new facility, if we can keep this going, we can do really well. And that's our game plan, to keep it going, because I feel like we have something special going. We didn't reach our main goal of getting to the NCAA tournament, and that will continue to be our main goal. Nate, I want to thank our producers, Steve
Cooney, Jackie Metz, Dennis Trapani, who did all the editing, Marcus, who helped us out a couple times as well. Without them, we're not sitting here. Right,
and I want to thank the viewers. I know you love the game of college basketball. I can tell you, I absolutely love it. We're going to continue to try and give you a great product. I appreciate you watching the show. Again, we feel like we have something special going, and we're going to do everything we can to continue that effort.
If I can make one suggestion when you go to the meeting, because you don't know how many people have said this to me, please get them to paint that line on the floor, the little half circle, underneath the basket.
Put a charge on the block charge. Okay.
Many people on television talked about it.
We will talk about it.
And that's going to be an important issue as well.
Good. I'll bring it up.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Coach Cremins and I, we want to thank you for watching, but we're not done yet. We're going to close out the show in the next segment, and we'll be back right after these messages. Don't forget, you're watching The Bobby Cremins Show. Welcome back once again to the Bobby Cremins Show. And Coach Cremins alluded to all the people behind the scenes that make this show happen. We want to thank them very much for all their efforts. We definitely want to thank our sponsors. For without them, we wouldn't have a show. And the fans, Coach Cremins alluded to them as well. Without them, this wouldn't have been the run it was. And more importantly, in the last 4 years, the run that the Cougars were on and did not end the way they wanted to could not have been possible without the seniors on this basketball team. Jordan Turok, Gary Campbell, and of course, Jeremy Simmons, Donovan Monroe, Andrew Godlock, and Antoine Wiggins started 4 years ago. Fortunately for Cougar fans, Antoine Wiggins will be back for his senior year next year. But without those guys and their efforts in this gorgeous arena that the Cougars play in, this run could not have happened. Coach Cremins alluded to the fact that those 4 seniors come in and formed a bond. Well, next year, it's going to be a new bond with new freshmen coming in, and of course, sophomores, juniors, and seniors, to hopefully reach the goal that Coach Cremins, his staff, the fans in the city of Charleston won a Southern Conference championship and a bid to the NCAA tournament. We're going to follow them all year, and we'll make it happen next year. We want to thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next year on The Bobby Cremins Show.